In the heart of the Alps lies one of the smallest yet most fascinating countries in the world. This fairy-tale principality, nestled between Switzerland and Austria, consists of just 11 charming villages and is surrounded by majestic mountain peaks. From medieval castles and picturesque streets to breathtaking hikes, although this country covers only 160 square kilometers, it is brimming with history, culture, and surprises. Let me take you to this hidden gem in the Alps. Welcome to Liechtenstein. Entering the small country from the southern Swiss side, I immediately feel the weight of history surrounding me. In the southern village of Balzers, a medieval castle towers above the town. Burg Gutenberg is perched on a 70-meter-high rocky hill and was first mentioned in the 13th century. After many expansions, it fell into disrepair in the 18th century and was partly demolished following a fire in 1795. A century later, the ruined building was purchased by an artist who restored it in a romantic style. The castle itself was already closed during my visit, but the courtyard with its view over the village and mountains remained accessible. From the castle, you can see the St. Nicholas Church at the foot of the hill. This church was built in the early 20th century in neo-Romanesque style and was funded by Prince Johann II in honor of his 50th anniversary of reign. With its tall tower, striking facade, and modest interior, it serves as a spiritual and cultural center for the local community. And its location next to the castle creates an impressive sight in the landscape of southern Liechtenstein. Unfortunately, my first day starts off rainy, but after a few showers, I decide to head into the mountains, to the village of Malbun. This small settlement lies at about 1,600 meters above sea level and is the country's only ski resort. In winter, it transforms into a white fairy tale with perfect slopes and a warm, welcoming atmosphere. In summer, this is replaced by green alpine meadows, beautiful hiking trails, and stunning panoramas. I set out on a hike from the village, and before long, I'm looking down from above at how this village nestles into the beautiful landscape. Walking through the forested surroundings, there are many scenic openings where you can enjoy the mountainous views, and you'll also come across a small, idyllic mountain lake surrounded by grazing cows. The route, known as the Sassweg, is about 5 kilometers long and takes roughly an hour and a half to walk, depending on how often you pause to soak in the magnificent views. Back in the village, it's time to prepare myself for my second day in this unique little country. Early in the morning, I leave the village of Malbun and descend back to the lower parts of the country. It quickly becomes clear that the clouds have gathered in the valley, creating a special atmosphere. It's always a magical moment when you find yourself looking out over the clouds. My first stop is the Getaway viewing tower, just a few minutes walk from the parking area. The tower offers a stunning view over the lower part of the country, where the river winds its way through the landscape. Combined with the steep mountains rising beside you, this makes it a perfect spot to admire the country from above. Back at the parking area, the clouds have completely rolled against the mountains, and I find myself surrounded by mist. A good moment to descend even further, to one of the country's most iconic buildings, Vaduz Castle. This structure combines medieval defensive architecture with later additions and restorations, and was originally built in the 12th century. In 1712, it was purchased by the princes of Liechtenstein, who still reside there to this day. I descend a little further to the city of Vaduz itself. This small city is the country's capital and has fewer than 6,000 inhabitants, making it one of the smallest capitals in the world. Here, I visit the National Museum to learn more about the country's history. In the Middle Ages, the land was made up of small counties and lordships, until the noble house of Liechtenstein purchased two of these territories around the year 1700. The purpose of this purchase was to gain political influence, and in 1719, Emperor Charles VI united the two territories into the Principality of Liechtenstein. What began as a strategic move by the family grew into an independent nation. Under Napoleon's protection, it became fully independent in 1806. In the early 19th century, it joined the German Confederation, later developed close ties with Austria, and eventually shifted its orientation toward Switzerland after the First World War. During the Second World War, it remained neutral. Today, it is a constitutional monarchy with a hereditary prince who holds relatively more power than most other European monarchs. As you can see, it's a museum that offers insight into many aspects of the country, and it is definitely worth a visit. A combination ticket also grants you access to the treasury, located next to the building. Here, you will find various decorative objects as well as a replica of the crown. The city center itself is a mix of modern architecture and historic buildings, which makes it an interesting place to explore. On the edge of the center stands the Cathedral of St. Florin, one of the country's most well-known religious landmarks. This neo-Gothic church was opened in 1874 and was elevated to cathedral status in 1997, when Liechtenstein established its own archdiocese. Although the building appears quite large in comparison to the city, it is actually rather small compared to most cathedrals, something that, of course, suits the scale of the entire country. While the eastern border of Liechtenstein is formed by high mountains, the western boundary is marked by the Rhine River, which separates the country from Switzerland. On the banks of this river lies the Rheinpark Stadium, home to both the national football team and the club FC Vaduz, which competes at a high level in the Swiss Football League. Despite its modest capacity of just over 7,500 seats, the stadium meets international standards, something unique for such a small country. Not far from here is one of the most iconic structures in the Rhine Valley, the Alte Rheinbrücke. At 135 meters in length, this wooden bridge is the longest covered bridge over the Rhine still in use. The current bridge was built in 1901, partly using materials from older bridges that once stood on the same site. The first simple wooden bridge here dated back to the 15th century, though these earlier versions often collapsed due to flooding and ice buildup. It is a special experience to walk or cycle across, especially since you cross the border at its midpoint. With its wooden framework and small viewing openings, combined with the scent of timber, the bridge feels almost fairy tale-like. After visiting the capital, I make a short trip to the north, where you'll find one of the oldest historical sites in the country. The ruins of Obere Burg Schellenberg were built around the year 1200 by the lords of Schellenberg. It served to defend and control the Rhine Valley. In the late Middle Ages, the castle gradually lost its importance and eventually fell into disrepair after the 16th century. It's a special site with great significance in the country's history. My final stop is once again at the parking area in Gafle, where I also started my morning. From here begins one of the most beautiful and spectacular hikes in the entire country, the Fürstensteig. This Prince's Trail was built in 1898 in honor of Prince Johann II. At the time, it was a prestige project to make the beauty of the mountain landscape accessible to visitors in the princely family. The route runs along steep rock faces with narrow paths and small bridges. It's a daring trail and certainly not for everyone. If you have a fear of heights or little hiking experience, it's not recommended. But if you take on this 7-kilometer-long route, you'll be rewarded with the most breathtaking views over the Rhine Valley and the capital. trail lies roughly 1,200 meters higher than the valley floor, making the experience even more impressive. You look almost straight down into the valley in some places. At the end of the trail, you can choose to return the same way or make a loop. I chose the latter, which takes you about 200 meters higher along a newly renovated path. In total, you ascend over 600 meters on the entire route, which also makes it relatively challenging. During the descent, you pass a geographic landmark, the exact center of Liechtenstein. In the middle of a sloping meadow, a stone marks the country's geographical midpoint. Although the route is only 7 kilometers long, it easily takes over 2 hours to complete, but every single step is well worth it. Once back at the parking area, I descend again into the valley and cross over into Switzerland. In just under 2 days, I explored this small country, and it is absolutely stunning. From the peaceful Rhine Valley with its small towns and villages to the imposing mountains with their incredible hiking trails, Liechtenstein is a place that offers something for everyone. I can wholeheartedly recommend that you come and see this country with your own eyes and enjoy all its beauty. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss my next stop in Switzerland. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.